Hello, beautiful, and welcome to another episode of Beautiful, I Am Colored. My name is Evelyn, and this is a place where I share stories from my debut book that holds the same title as this podcast. I am honored that you have returned to hear more of my stories, and thank you to those of you who tuned in last week. I appreciate your support. For those interested, you can follow me on Instagram at Beautiful I Am Colored. This week, as promised, I have bonus material for you. I am so pleased to have my very first guest on this podcast. If you listen to the stories from this week, I had a story titled Marlon. He is my husband of now 26 years, but we tallied it up the other week and we have been together for 30 years coming this August. And so I thought it would be fun just because the past several weeks that I've shared with you have been, kind of heavy in terms of the stories that I've shared thus far. But I thought it would create and contextualize my story better because it's told from my point of view. But I think it will be beneficial for listeners to hear Marlon's point of view about how we met. So this should be very interesting. You all don't know this, but typically, because I'm reading my book to you, I don't do multiple edits on the different podcasts. So this will be interesting because we have a certain kind of chemistry and nothing is really scripted. So we're going to see how it goes. But I want to just say out the gate, Marlon Barnes is one of the most influential people, if not the most influential person in my life. He is my number one supporter in all kinds of ways, including this podcast. He is an exceptional provider, father of 4, grandfather to 1 so far, and I just have enjoyed doing life with him, and that's inclusive of all the things. This man is so hardworking. He works literally 7 days a week, literally. And so I just want to say publicly, love, thank you so much for what you bring to the family, and welcome to Beautiful I Am Colored.
Thank you very much. I'm sorry I had to clear my throat. I appreciate the kind words. They mean a lot.
You're very welcome.
Of course.
Well, let's get started. First of all, did you read my manuscript?
I did.
Did you read the entire thing, or did you skip to the story that was your name,
I
title?
read the entire thing. I didn't skip.
You didn't skip?
I was sitting next to you when I was reading it.
I was just making sure. I didn't
skip any. Nope, didn't skip it.
And so, curious, what was your takeaway from the manuscript? Because you were provided with a copy long before. It's at the printers now, but you were provided with a copy. So, briefly, what's your takeaway?
I mean, it's kind of what I put in the comments of, I think on Spotify, I think you're a phenomenal writer to begin with. Like, you kind of write in a way that's very conversational. It pulls you in, and you're talking to somebody. I'm a journalism major.
Right.
We're
gonna do that today.
Yeah, no, just a little bit, but okay. and I'm a creative, and so I really appreciate the way you write, and it makes me want to hear more. It's just a unique perspective, hearing our experience and your experience, more your experience in your own voice was captivating to me. So it gave me an opportunity to listen. Not as a spouse, but kind of as like a bystander, somebody an observer, if you will. So, and the writing just pulled me in. So I thought it was well written. And then having been a witness to what, what's happened in life, I just thought it was tastefully done.
Oh, thank you. I don't like the way you look at me right now. You're making me uncomfortable, and I don't want to embarrass myself with this recording.
Don't be uncomfortable.
Well, thank you so much for that. And like I said, I can't stress this enough. Like, I appreciate your support. Just being my friend along the way, as well as your financial contributions as well. As you are my main and only sole sponsor so far. So I just want to say thank you again. So let's get right into it. So this week I shared the story titled Marlon. By the way, folks, if you haven't listened to this week's recording, I encourage you to do so, because you might be kind of lost in the sauce a little bit if you don't recall my perspective of really how we met, which was way back in August of 1992. And, you've read it, but just to refresh, I kind of, start off by how I felt when you got on the bus the first day of school. And pretty much talked about how, I really wanted you to like me and set that whole story up. And so, again, if you haven't listened to my perspective in me reading that story, I encourage you to go back and read and listen to the author commentary. But this is Marlon's time to kind of add some additional context to it. So if you can kind of maybe start right there from the first day of school and fill the listeners in on your perspective on how we met and how we came to be a unit, if you will.
So, I know you told me that the first day of school you saw me, right? So that would have been the morning?
Yeah, morning.
So, and so for me, I recall seeing you, but there was a lot going on that morning that I got on the bus.
Interesting. What was going, wait. See, this is what I keep trying to tell y'all. I did not provide a script, and so this is about to be raw. What was going on?
I'm just trying to go back, because I feel like the first day on the bus, everybody was on the bus. I think there was some checking going on and all that kind of stuff. So
every day.
And so, and then plus I was fresh. I had on the V-neck.
You did.
The Huaraches. I think I had on Huaraches.
I don't even know what that is.
The Nike Huarache. No, I think I had on my Air Max. I can't remember what I had on.
Who is a Huarache?
It's a Nike, like, they're Nike, the shoes.
I know they're shoes, but like, I don't understand.
Who a Huarache is, but
okay.
They were fresh.
Okay.
And I remember just being fresh to death.
Okay.
I had just moved over to North Haven from Horton Garden and stuff like that. So I just thought I thought I was on 10s. Mm-hmm. So that morning I don't remember, but I do remember like the afternoon bus ride coming home, because I think you were sitting with somebody. And then that's when I kind of like locked eyes with you, if you will. We was playing a little bit of was flirting with the eyes, if you will. Mm-hmm. And that's when I first saw you. And I'd seen you before, even in Woodstock. Like, I saw you. Like,
what is Woodstock? Because
listeners
are not going to know.
Woodstock is an elementary school that went from kindergarten to 8th grade, right? So I'm a little bit older than you. Mm-hmm. So I remember seeing you. I knew who you, like, I knew the face. I just didn't know you. Mm-hmm. And so that afternoon on the bus, when we started kind of flirting with the eyes, if you will, I just, I was just like, man, she cute, man. Like, I was flattered. I thought she was, I was smitten, if you will. I just thought she was like a really nice looking person. So I was just like, man, who is she? Mm-hmm. Right. So that's how it was for me. But, being kind of how I am, I don't even think I even said anything really that day. I just think we looked a little bit.
Yeah. I don't recall you saying anything at all. Not even like hello. Because you were sitting with Chuck right behind me at one point on the bus, mm-hmm. and I don't think we even exchanged words. And so let's fast forward a little bit. So from my perspective, I share in my book about the locker shortage for the 9th graders that particular year at Millington Central High. And so let's fast forward to us meeting at the lockers.
So after that day on the bus, just to go back, right? Because I was leading to that.
Oh, okay, my bad.
Being who I was, I just thought I was, at that point, I think I was going to my junior year. I was feeling myself for real. So, that day when I saw you, I wasn't gonna just get up out of my seat and come over and talk and stuff. I was just kind of like, oh, she's beautiful. I just, whatever, right? Just admired you from afar, and I just left it at that, because I think I had my headphones in. Just, kind of the cool stuff, right? Mm-hmm. So, and I wasn't even sure. Like, I guess I was gonna see you again. I don't know. I just kind of let the moment go. Mm-hmm. And then, but we got to sign lockers. I got to sign lockers, and so I'm going to my locker, and it was just my luck. That's your.
I I can't.
It was just my luck
I
that
can't.
some kind of way, you talked about this locker shortage, that your locker was right, I mean, like right next to mine.
Yeah. I don't know.
Oh, it was like right, it was in the same area.
Yeah, for sure.
And so the second time I saw you, I'm like, yeah, like I wanna like now I'm feeling like, okay, this is the second time I'm seeing her, and I'm feeling the same way. Like I'm like, man, she fine. Like I wanna, you know what I'm saying, like whatever. And I remember Chuck, God, rest in peace, Chuck, who was one of our friends and stuff from North Haven, and those of you from Memphis and stuff, y'all know Chuck. They used to call him Big Memphis. But anyway, rest in peace. He was there at the locker, and I was like, man, I'm gonna holler or whatever. I don't even know what I said to him, and he was like, man, you could try, but she mean. She ain't hollering at nobody. She ain't talking to nobody.
Let me interject something right here. Let me just address something right now, because I know several listeners are from like our high school and from Memphis or family. I don't even understand how I got labeled mean. I am like not a mean person at all. Now I am direct. I'll own that. But mean? How did I get labeled that amongst the boys?
I don't know. I'm just, because I guess you wasn't really, when people try to holler, I guess you wasn't having it.
That's correct.
All right. So that's what he said. And then I remember just saying to him, I either said it out loud or to myself. I'm like, that's you. That ain't me. And I remember I approached you. And we started talking, and I never will forget this, because I can't remember the exact words verbatim, but I know we exchanged some pleasantries. And then, at the time, I thought I was big stuff popping. I had this little beeper that I got from Beepers Now over off on Jackson Street. I think I was paying $20 to have it on. Wasn't nobody beeping me. I just had it, because I thought it was cool. And I remember just being like, here's my number, here's my beeper number, whatever, call me. And you was giving me, like, you was smiling and stuff, you was giving me good energy. So I'm like, cool, we might be getting ready to like talk or whatever. So we had that conversation, and we went on our way. And, I didn't see you for a few days or whatever, but I did not hear from you. So I was kind of like, well, in my head, I was like, man, I guess it's what it is, right? So I just let it be. And then I think I finally saw you after a couple of days, and I was like, what's up? Like, what happened? And then you kind of gave me the whole rundown of what was going down at your house and stuff like that you weren't really supposed to be talking to nobody and all that fun stuff or whatever. And but then you was like, but I'm gonna call you though. I'm gonna hit you up or whatever. And I'm like, all right, whatever. Because at that point I was, and just the way I was at that time, I was just, I was already practicing this disassociation thing in my head when Trump, rejection and all that stuff. I just write stuff off. So I was like, all right, we'll see, whatever. So after those couple of exchanges, I was like, it'd be nice, but if it don't, I'm gonna keep it pushing, because I ain't gonna be hurt. And then I think that weekend you messed around and called me.
Yeah. Do you remember what our first conversation was?
I honestly don't know what we talked about.
Here's the thing. I remember a lot. I remember a lot of stuff, but I cannot remember. I know we were on the phone for hours. That I do recall. On the phone all. I think we called each other early evening, and we talked like late into the morning. That's right. It was crazy. But I have no idea what. No, we was
just talking about each other. We were just talking about our lives, and we were just talking about just everything. It was just very genuine. We were just two young folks just talking, and I don't know exactly what all of it was, but I know it was very like just talking about each other's and our families and who we were and where we been and stuff like that. And I just remember that just going on and on. We was doing that like for weeks, and upon months of just talking. And that was really kind of the beginning of me falling in love with you. I just thought you was a very genuine person. And initially, when we first started talking, it was just strictly on. That's just what it really, really was. Even I know we talk about flaws and stuff like that. And of course, at that time, I had them. But there was definitely a part of me that opened when I started talking to you, and I started getting to know you. That felt good to me. That I wanted to have open.
Wow.
You know what I mean? And that I hadn't experienced at that point in my life, and I like what I felt.
Oh, I want to go so many different directions right now. I want to stay on.
We got.
I want to stay on track.
It's a lot. But, I understand.
Because I love interviewing people. I really, really do. I like getting to know people, and I appreciate you saying that part. It opened up a part of you, and it felt good. And so I think I want to pivot a little bit and ask you about, like, so when you say that it felt good, the first part of my question is, what was it about the conversation that felt good? And also, that was your 16-year-old self.
Yeah.
But at your 40-plus-something-year-old self today, do those things still matter?
Oh, that's good. So for me, and again, we don't have time on this podcast, but at that point, for how I was growing up and what I was exposed to, it wasn't like I saw like I saw probably like the rough version of, like, I was in Horton Garden. There was a lot of stuff happening, you know what I mean? Like, and so I was seeing a version of courtship and how things happen with male and female that wasn't courtship. It wasn't roses and getting to know each other. It was just more like, it was a altered view of things, you know what I mean? And so, and on top of that, I was always kind of like the dark skin, like people checking me, you know what I'm saying? I was supposed to be the ugly one, you know what I'm saying? So I definitely
didn't think that when I laid out.
But that's how, at the time, that's how it was. And so I wasn't used to having intimacy, right? Not even physical, but just like intimacy from another woman in conversation. Like, okay, you have your mom, but outside of that, I wasn't used to that at all, right? And even in other exchanges of people that I, may have known before in high school and stuff like that, it was always about, like, how the boys and girls do. It's like, oh, who you like, who you gonna holler at, who you gonna get with. Mm-hmm. It was, not genuine. It was just more like, who you gonna holler at, who you gonna get with, who you gonna sleep with, who you gonna hit.
Yeah, right.
That type of mentality. And so for me, I hadn't had like a lot of like just sharing my heart with somebody and talking to someone genuinely. And it not necessarily ending or trying to go in any direction. It was just like us just talking, and I enjoyed that. I liked that. It touched something in me that wasn't imposing. You know what I mean? It didn't jump to physicality. It wasn't aggressive. It was just natural. It was just us talking, us getting to know each other in a very genuine way. And I still feel that way today. I think that we've been over sexualized. I think that men in general, they create this dynamic that, everything is very sexual. Mm-hmm. And of course, men, by nature and how we're made, I guess we are, in our anatomy, like sexual in a sense. Mm-hmm. However, that's not to negate the other side of us in regards to, like, yeah, you may be sexual, but you want to have partnership, you want to have companionship, you want to know somebody, you want to talk to someone, you want to feel cared for, you want to feel heard, you want to feel validated. And I think all those things is what I wanted then, and those are the same things I still want now. Like, those are the same things that I still enjoy now. Like, of course there's a physical attraction, as always have been, but I just as much appreciate the other aspects of knowing you as a person and you knowing me as a person, and being able to share my heart and being able to be vulnerable, and when something's not going right, being able to know I can come to a trusted place and be like, look, man, I don't feel good about this or whatever. I think everybody wants that. Yeah. I think people pretend like they don't, right? Yeah. Try to act like you got some type of facade up, but I feel like everyone wants that.
I think sometimes people don't know how to communicate the one, because sometimes, introspectively, internally, you may think that you're communicating that to others. And I'm saying this by others across the board in any relationship dynamic. But it may not be in a way that's packaged so the other person can know that that's what you're expecting. I'm naturally, like, I've been a listener type of person for almost my entire life. My family probably would say, and very, very observant. And that has served me well on a lot of fronts. But I think that in a marriage dynamic or in a relationship dynamic, that it's imperative to, say, well, you know what? This didn't work for me. This is how I would want you to communicate this to me so that I can receive it better, until you get to kind of learn each other more and you can kind of go with the flow. I mean, we've been together so long now that we can pick up on each other's energy. Sure. and feel the shift. But in the early years, I definitely don't think that that I knew that as much as I know it now, but that takes time, right? Look how long we've been together. And so that was really good insight. That was very good insight, especially for some of the men who men or young men who may be listening. Let me fast forward a little bit, because one of the things I touched on in sharing the story about you is that in recent years, and by recent I mean, let's just say the past 5 to 7 to 10 even, we definitely have gotten some feedback in terms of our relationship dynamic, and there have been accusations, false I might add, about the sincerity or the authenticity about how in love we are, how much we spend time together. And so I want you from just a male perspective, because I did share that it's not like we're perfect people. Like there have been, and those of you who have been listening for the past several weeks now, you know that there have been definitely some challenges along the way in our marriage. But so we are nowhere far from perfect. But when I say this man right here, do it for me, like you do it for me. I cannot imagine starting, like I cannot imagine having to do some of the things that my friends tell me that they're doing to pursue partnership with someone. And I'm not saying that anything is wrong. I'm just saying that.
Let me say it like this.
Okay.
And I'll try not to be long-winded. Like, what people don't understand is that we went through the same patterns that most marriages go through. There was infidelity.
Yep.
There's all the stuff that people complain about, we went through.
Yeah, that's facts.
In general.
Mm-hmm.
But here's where people, this is the other part of it where I feel like everybody got to kind of grasp, is that the difference is that I'll talk about me. As I went through my journey of recovery from infidelity and doing things in a marriage that I didn't want for myself in my life, I made a very clear decision. I think you did too. That, and seeing how the loneliness of that, and seeing how ultimately no one can make anything work in your life until you decide it's going to work in your life.
Oh my God. Facts.
And so the part that is missing in the conversation is that you and I, we put in a lot of work to define the rules of engagement of how we wanted our marriage to be. And that came with some tears, some screaming, some fighting, and everything else after all of these things have happened.
That's true. So
the truth of the matter is number one, if you look at our marriage holistically, we're not perfect because we got the bruises and evidence to show. And then secondly, my advice, and not that anybody's asking my advice, but my declaration to anyone who's asking about marriage and longevity is that you and the person that you with, you get the right to set the rules of engagement for what you want. And if y'all agree on that, don't nothing else matter. Lock in on what y'all want to do. If it's date nights, if it's you don't want to have friends outside of opposite sex, if you don't want to do this, you want to do that, you want to, whatever you want to incorporate, and you two agree to that and make it work, then that's all that matters. And I think we came together after some real trauma in our marriage and said, I don't want to feel that again. I don't want to do that again. When you said this, this meant that. When you did this, that meant that. And those were tough conversations.
Very tough.
But once we worked through those things, we really started making that commitment to be like, do you want this? Yes, I want this bad. Do you want this? Absolutely. All right, then let's lock in and commit to what we said we want. And we've been committed to that. And that's what we still are committed to. And so I say to anybody, like in a relationship, like define the rules of engagement for what makes you two happy. And if y'all can decide on that and you are committed to that, then lock in and commit to doing that. And it will begin to, propel you into longevity and stability. You know what I mean? And it still won't be perfect. Even with that, we still have to reset that all the time. Marriage is not a constant state. You're married and it's over with. Like, it's a growing union and you have to work at it every single day. And it takes two to tango. So I mean, but I don't even, at this point, you know, to me, proof is in the pudding. Action speaks louder than words. I don't got time to prove nothing to nobody. Like, I don't really care what you think.
Clown. Right.
No, I'm just saying I'm too old. I got too much going on for that at this point. Mm-hmm. Like, think what you want to think.
Mm-hmm. That's your business.
I'm good. I'm good. Think what you want to think.
I only have just a couple more questions before we wrap up, because I did want to keep this interview succinct and, you know, with 30 minutes. But I got a feeling some people are going to be like, have him back on. But just a couple more questions before we end this episode. You mentioned date nights. And I remember the pivotal moment that date nights were implemented. It was just a few years ago that date nights became a non-negotiable for us. Do you remember the circumstances that created that?
I do.
Would you like to share with the listeners about that?
We first had moved to Denver. I was just stepping out. You know, I was going out. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? With you know, one of my little more friends from college. Friends? From college or whatever. And we was out. And I wasn't doing anything in the streets or nothing like that, but we were out, and it wasn't inclusive of you. And I remember you just, it took you back to a place, because that pattern, that type of pattern, if you go back and listen to your podcast, people will probably identify when you said, and he was not taking me or Caitlin. And when she was referencing when we first came, when we first came to Boulder back in the day. And so I totally understand for you at that point, it was like, oh shoot, I've seen this before, and I'm not going.
I wasn't going to be going.
And so we had a real, one night I went out and I came back home or whatever, and we had
It was late. It was after 2 a.m.
I don't know what time it was. It was late. And we had a drag, you know, what they call them, drag down, knockout, whatever. We wasn't fighting, I mean, physically, but we were, you know, we were very vocal and very loud, and you were very clear about, like, I don't know what this is, but I'm not. I won't go down that same pattern again.
I had made a promise to myself, and this is something I want to share with the listeners. I think that you deserve to have, how can I say this? And let me say it how I'm feeling it in my heart. You deserve to serve you in the best way possible. And for me, I had made a promise to myself way back in 1996 that, yes, I forgive you for infidelity. However, and my mama taught me this, the first time is a mistake. I ain't doing no more, none of that. And so I had made a promise to myself that if it ever happens again, I'm out. Like, I'm bouncing, and I'll shed tears. I'll get there. I'll do whatever I need to do, but I'm getting out, because I know that Evelyn deserves the best. And so I'm thankful. Let me pivot that, because that was a little bit heavy and I could feel a little slight shift here. I'm very thankful that both of us at that moment really made a decision and then started to talk through, okay, how do we get to a place to where, you know what I'm saying, we're not feeling this? Because from a life standpoint, the kids were not needing us as much. So the whole pick up, drop off and stuff, they were becoming more and more independent as adolescents. And at the time, a couple were attending college as well. And so it's kind of like, you know, that's a pivotal point in anybody's marriage when the kids start to empty nest out. And I'm just so grateful that one of the things that came out of that conversation is like, I do like kicking it with you. You know what I'm saying? Like, I want to be with you. And then that's how date night started.
Well, and I just want to kind of end this. Well, not even end it, but I'll finish what I'm saying with this.
Sure.
Because yes, out of that conversation came date night. But one thing that I want to articulate to anyone who's listening, especially men, if you got, because, you know, there's a lot of men sometimes get together and be like, oh, you can't do this. Your woman is like, oh, you know, I can do what I want, you know, so you can't go out and all this stuff. You know, after 26 years of marriage, you should be very weary of anyone that's constantly pulling you away from the very thing that you know is great and good for you. Right? And so at the end of the day, like when we had that conversation, the one thing that I went through is when I heard the pain in your voice and how serious you were about, no, I'm not doing this again. I'm saying to myself, stepping out or going out. Listen, that over my home, over having unity and peace in my house. I'm never gonna choose that over unity and peace in my house. You know what I mean? And so, like, sometimes you got to check your priorities. You know what I'm saying? Now, if your priorities don't mean that much to you, then that's your business. But if your priorities are important to you, then you should be questioning people that, any situation. I'm not trying to point that at anybody. I'm saying you should question any situation that's constantly pulling you away from the thing that you care and love, that you care about and that you love, And so I just think it's important to get priorities straight too, right? And I'll forsake anything. For what I got.
Oh my God, I wish y'all could see his face right now. So, I know you mean it.
And that's just what it is. And so, and I think that type of mentality that we have for each other, that type of fervor that we have for each other is kind of what it's kept our flame lit for these 26 plus years. Yeah. And I'm looking for some more.
I know. I'm so excited. Like, I'm so happy. And if I was not happily married, I can tell you right now, I would not be doing it. I'll just say that for the record. I think in closing, I have one final question for you, because I got a feeling that this is probably going to get a lot of traction, just because it's very rare that you hear a strong masculine black man speak from the heart. And so I appreciate your energy. I appreciate your support again. Can I have you back on in the future? Can we have maybe an hour-long conversation in the future? And it might be on a different subject matter, but I think you're gonna become pretty popular. And I'm gonna tell you right now, ladies, I still believe in the laying on of hands, and I ain't talking about nothing in church. And I'm gonna leave that there. But you think you'll say yes to coming back?
Yeah, let's just talk about my feet. Let's talk about my feet. But yeah, I would put it right. Yes.
Listen,
we'll work out the details in the background.
I feel like I've been doing real good with my feet.
No, we'll work out the details in the background. But yes, of course.
Well, thank you so much for being here again. Thank you to the listeners for this bonus episode this week. We meaning me and you, the listener, will have Marlon back. We'll see what kind of fees and taxes he imposes on me in order for him to come back. But I'm happy to pay whatever it is. You heard me on that. So anyhow, thank you so much for joining us for this bonus episode of Beautiful, I Am Colored. I'll be back on Sunday continuing with more stories from my book. Actually, I'll be sharing one story from my book this week. Thank you so much for your support again. Until next time, beautiful. Have a great weekend, everyone.